But it's a little interesting because Wall Street was somewhat mixed, right?
It was hard to tell exactly what Wall Street was upset about, but if you listen to the tenor of the questions, some of the questions on the earnings call were they were disappointed that Shopify was not generating more operating income, even though it expanded. It didn't expand as much as they had guided. To be honest, I could care less about the stock. Usually I just care about what the platforms are doing, how they interact with each other. The stock market is like, it's a fugazi. If you look at the Wolf of Wall Street, like you never know what those things are going to do. But the short story seems to be that Shopify saw some advertising opportunities. They took them and as a result spent more marketing dollars to grow faster than Wall Street wanted to give that money back in margin. So that's kind of what I'm taking from the message.
But isn't this what we've been talking about has been some of their issues? They haven't invested in marketing. They've been very product led. They've kind of wanted to let the software tell the story versus actually investing and getting this enterprise clientele, which they haven't yet fully latched onto. So what's the big deal? Why do you think that the spending was wrong?
Yeah, look, I mean, if you look at one of the things that I think Shopify has needed for a long time is, a CMO. Like the company has no CMO. And I don't know how many days we're on, like years we're on where Shopify doesn't have a CMO, like poor Bobby Morrison. And he and I actually had this conversation where like, we need to get him some marketing help. And so that's what we're about here at the Watson Weekend. We're about helping these companies out. And so if we can lobby for the enterprise team to get some marketing help, most people still don't know that Shopify is trying to sell enterprise software. I think if you look at year over year, their NRF booth traffic was like, 10 times the previous year. But if you ask the average chief digital officer, like, who are the enterprise software platforms? Like Shopify doesn't come to mind.
Let's talk about the Shopify network ecosystem and their competition. So they're clearly doing well. We know they have opportunities in the enterprise. If you're a Shopify competitor, what are you scared of and what do you focus on to combat Shopify in the market?
It's very clear that Shopify is in every room. The question is, are the fish biting at all? And who are they biting? And so enterprise software cycles are notoriously long and laborious, which has kind of usually been the opposite of Shopify's go-to-market strategy. And this is kind of the whole go-to-market organization that they've been building. If you go back to the 90s, Ross Perot said there was a giant sucking sound for US manufacturers going to Mexico. In terms of the platform market, the giant sucking sound is actually from Salesforce to Shopify. And so if you look at like what the analysts were thinking about, they were like, who are you taking share from? Because they don't know the market. They're just trying to look at the numbers. Harley was asked this question. He kind of like sidestepped it, which of course you kind of have to do. He didn't want to call it his competition, but we don't care about that stuff here on the show. They're actually going after Salesforce, and by my estimate, like over 1,000 and probably as many as 2,000 brands on Salesforce are probably in Shopify's crosshairs. And if you kind of look at a lot of these websites, they were put up 5, 10, even 12 years ago, and they haven't changed at all. If Shopify can get these people to move and motivate them, then that's their opportunity.
CEOs don't want to replatform. Like they really, at the end of the day, it's almost in like their pick list of the last things they want to do. So what can Shopify do to make them move? Like, do they have an advantage, or are they in the kind of the same boat as everybody else as they combat the like fears of making that platform change?
Shopify only has a couple of advantages. One is their message is about innovation, how many developers they have, how many features that they're developing. And second is price. They're lower cost than Oracle, they're lower cost than Salesforce. And so those are the messages that Shopify is pushing in the market. But if you run those messages up against like a traditional enterprise IT infrastructure and procurement team, like homie don't play that. They don't care about those things really, because their job is to move slow and prevent change. I mean,
correct. And it's still like a kind of a network effect, right? Like, so if you're Shopify and you're focusing on the enterprise, you really need to be building these very strong relationships at the C-suite. And is that like, that's not normal in their playbook, right? But because of how they've operated within the mid-market, do you think they can do that effectively?
I think, look, I think Shopify, if you look at anything that Shopify has done over the past decade or more, anytime when someone says Shopify is this and they can't do
Mhm.
Y, like whatever
Mhm.
those things are, like, oh, they're for entrepreneurs and can't be for small businesses. Oh, they're for small businesses, they can't be for the mid-market. Oh, they're for the mid-market and can't be for enterprise. Shopify has over time really knocked down a lot of those barriers, and to sort of predict that they can't do that in the future would pretty much be betting against history. So whether or not they can do this is really up to enterprise IT departments. And I think it's going to be probably their biggest test as a company over the past decade going into the enterprise space.